Boris van der Spek joins us now to talk about the referendum. He's the editor-in-chief of Chile Today. Thanks so much for your time, Boris. Now, tell us more about how Chile got to this point.
Well, we have to go back a bit in time to get to this point. Of course, the current constitution was written in dictatorship, was actually imposed in dictatorship and written by a small group of people who wrote these quite neoliberal laws with lots of space for the free market, a little role for the state when it comes to social security, social rights. So at that point, this constitution in the dictatorship, it laid the fundament for the system in the years after. But the fact that social rights were so marginally mentioned in that document made it very expensive throughout the year, especially for the poorer classes to get education, health, a decent pension, and all this increasing anger about the lack of access to these social basic rights came to an explosion in 2019 when hundreds of thousands of people took the streets in Chile to protest against inequality. There were riots, there were looting, but there was also peaceful protesting, and politicians came together and said, okay, we need to do something about this anger. They proposed a referendum to ask the people, do you want a new constitution? And this referendum took place in 2020. People voted, and they massively voted for a new constitution, and they chose in another referendum a body, an assembly of representatives of the people to write this constitution. This was quite a progressive body, actually, quite a progressive assembly, and this is the result that we have today, a very progressive constitution, what Chileans have voted on today.
So as we just heard in that report, though, polls last month showed many voters oppose the proposed constitution. The draft document has faced intense criticism for its left-leaning policies. What are voters and critics rejecting most about its contents?
Well, I think the anger is mostly towards the fact that people think it's quite unsure if the state, for example, which has a bigger role in this new document, can actually provide the services it guaranteed. Many people ask, how is the state going to pay free education, for example, or the health? How are they going to pay for it? Another big question, or a big criticism actually, is the fact that indigenous peoples get their own courts, they got a lot more autonomy, and of course for those indigenous people that's wonderful, but many people say this constitution will divide the country actually. So especially at those topics there's some criticism. But also in general, not only about the constitution. Chile has changed, and not in the fact that they want a new constitution, but the pandemic, economic crisis have changed the country. People think now, I would like to go back to the relative stability we had before 2019.
Like other closely watched referendums around the world, Brexit and Colombia's peace deal, for example, the debate's been marred by misinformation, particularly over the interpretation of the document itself. What more can you tell us about these misinformation campaigns?
Well, especially the side against the constitution, which here in Chile is called the Rechazo camp, has put a lot of money in fake news campaigns. Especially on social media, you often saw these wild proposals that supposedly were in the new constitution, which was not true, or people appearing on television explaining articles in this new constitution completely different. So yeah, there was a lot of misinformation, and even if you talk nowadays to voters, and they said like, if you would ask them, what are you going to vote for? And they would say, no, I reject this constitution because they are going to quit my house, or because indigenous peoples will be ruling our country. That was simply untrue. But you see that the effect of fake news in elections nowadays, whether it's like you say Brexit, the peace deal, or the United States elections, has massive impact on the final decisions voters make.
So what happens if this new constitution fails?
Well, if this constitution fails, and to be honest, it's quite likely that it's going to happen, the president, Boris, who is also progressive and leftist, said he does want the Chileans to get a new constitution, and that there anyway, no matter what, is going to be a new constitution. The way this is going to happen is unsure. He already convoked all political parties to come to his presidential palace tomorrow to talk about the whole process. Might be parliamentarians will write a new constitution. It might be that they will again elect this constitutional convention to write a new constitution. We are heading towards a period of certain political instability.
All right, Boris, thanks so much for your time. Boris van der Spek there, Editor-in-Chief of Chile Today.